What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. This is episode 16 of my 100-gallon reef tank. Now, recently I did do a quick little video of showing what went on with this, and basically, if you missed that, all we did was move it from my second story down to my first story. Everything is doing well, and it's been about 2 months, so I figured I would go through, a little more in depth of what went on with the move. Now, moving a 100-gallon tank from upstairs to downstairs is not really the easiest thing, and I must say, knock on wood, after about 2 months, everything is opening all back up. The corals are looking healthy again, and I really am pretty impressed with how it all turned out. Most of the rock work and where the coral placement is, I still have some corals that I need to place, obviously, but for the most part, I tried to mimic very similar to what I had before, where my pumps were, where my rock work was done, where my aquascape was, and that way I knew that I could just kind of put everything back to where it was before, and the lights would all be, it'd be all acclimated to the light. So doing that, I tried to really keep that in check, so that way none of the corals really got burnt out. And anything like that. Now, two little additions I did add on were these guards that go over my MP40s, and I must say this is probably one of the best, I don't even know, $10 or $12 investments I've ever bought off of eBay, because they work extremely well. I don't get little snails and stuff stuck in the power heads. If you have these power heads, you can know that every once in a while something gets in there and start ticking, making the power head tick, or something like that. So it kind of gets annoying. But as far as the corals, as you can see here, everything is really looking pretty darn healthy. My zoanthids, these aren't real fancy ones, but believe it or not, I've never had good luck growing zoanthids, and those are starting to spread a little bit on these rocks. Same thing with the mushrooms. I know these are easier corals to keep, but I've just never had really good luck with them. They've just never really grown real well. The frog spawn and the torch coral are really healthy. They're all opening and back up. It did take a few days for it to fully kind of open, but that's pretty much expected when you move a tank. Your water, everything is all kind of churned up. Now, I did try to keep majority of the water from the tank when I moved it from upstairs to downstairs. Obviously, I did do about 30 or 40 gallons or so of new water to just kind of take some of that bad stuff out and replenish it with some nice, new clean salt water. Now, most of the colonies are all looking good. The torch coral here, the neon green torch coral, same thing, never really had it growing real well. And I must say, within the last couple months, it's probably grown at least a head or two, or starting to grow a head or two, so that's really exciting. All the polyps are opening back up on this SPS coral, and as you can see, it's starting to really encrust also over the rock with the monoporas and the it's really exciting to watch all the corals kind of in 2 months just open back up and start being healthy. A couple did fall off, so I started to move them a little bit, and one of the ones that really impressed me is the Duncan coral. Now, this thing was always closed up. It used to be in the center of my tank, and I ended up moving it over kind of off to the right side in the corner. A little bit less light, a little bit less flow, and it kind of just has really opened up, and the heads have started getting much bigger, and I do spot feed that from time to time, so that does help. Now, as far as the cords go, please excuse the feeder on the top. It was coming back from vacation. I always mount that to the top of my tank when I go on vacation. I'm looking for a cleaner way to kind of keep it there all the time, so I don't have to keep taking it on and off. But as far as the cords, they just come down and they go right across, and then kind of use the little clamps from Ecotech to kind of keep them all zip tied together. Now, all the cords actually come into my control panel here that we made, and they actually go behind this little door, and as you can see, they go in. It's tough to see, but they actually go into the wall. And on the other side of this wall is my master closet, and my wife was lucky to let nice enough, I should say, to let me put my auto top off bucket and the power basically all in that closet. So all these cords actually run straight through that wall and go on the other side, which I will show you here in a minute. Now I do use this little Apex, tablet. It's not the best thing in the world, but it does kind of give me a quick little glimpse. I can just look down at this and look at the, the readings of the tank, the temperature, the salinity, and, pH of my calcium reactor and my tank as well. Now, like I said, in the other side of that wall is our master closet, and she has a lot of clothes. So I found a little cabinet and I reused the cabinet from upstairs. My auto top off bucket, I kind of just cut this. I put a float sensor on the float valve on it, so when it's filling, it actually works really well. I've not had any leaks. There is a leak detector on the floor just for that in case, but as far as the power goes, there is still some cleanup for wires in here, but everything comes through that hole in the wall and gets put into this cluster of a cabinet. The battery backup for the Ecotech, and as far as the vent for the cabinet, there is a vent that I put on top of it to let some of the heat out of the vent. It really doesn't get warm as of now, and if it ever did, I would just put a little fan in there and blow some of the hot air out. Now, as far as underneath goes, I ended up moving my calcium reactor inside and underneath my stand. I know it's not going to be the best thing when I need to get it out, but I can fill it from the top with the cap on the top of the cap, and most of the time if I ever need to take it out, I'll be taking my sump out to clean as well. So the little LED lights are just a gimmick, and basically I just mounted them here so I can come down, hit a button on the side, turn them on. The colors I really don't care too much for. I usually just use white, but my daughter does love coming over and pushing the strobe button and making it go crazy, and I'll walk by a few hours later and see my tank looking like a ambulance or something. It's pretty crazy. I do have two cooling fans on the top that come on and off as the tank, believe it or not, moving it downstairs for whatever reason, my tank temperature does rise a little bit, so those keep it in check. Now, as far as the RO and how I get water to the RO tank and water changes and stuff like that, basically I just only use one bin this time. I'm probably going to get a second one down the road, but right now I just keep RO water in this all the time. When I want to do a water change, I dump in the salt that is measured out for this. This does 20 gallons, and there's a pump in there that just constantly recycles the water in there to mix it. And then when I want to get it to the tank, I just pull off this hose and connect an extension to it and open that ball valve, and it pumps fresh salt water back into my tank. Now, I was filling the RO bucket on the other side of the wall. That was one thing that I did not want to have to lug any buckets into the closet, into our master bedroom where all my wife's clothes are, and that would have just been a pain. So basically I used that black tubing that was on the wall, and I run it all the way in here down into my living room. Excuse the vacuum and the mess. And I run it right into this little tubing that we have and connect the push connect to it, which is basically I put the long RO tube in there, click it into the ball valve on the RO tube, open the ball valve, and it actually goes through this wall and into the auto top off container on the other side and fills that up until the float switch clicks off my my RODI unit. So that is basically a quick little run through on my tank. It has been probably 2 months, a little over 2 months. It's taken me a little bit to get this video out, but I did want to just kind of give a quick overview of how it all went down. And as you can see, it's nice and clean on this wall. No wires are being seen, and I'm really happy with it. So like, comment, subscribe, and happy reefing. Cheers.